Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen, coinaholics of all ages? This is Sean, and today we are going to go ahead and do the Pocket Change Market Report, this time for May 22nd, 2021, and it looks like we'll have one more PCMR before the month is all set and done. But in this video, as you guys know, we talk about some of the most interesting finds and sales from eBay within the last couple days. And normally with the Pocket Change Market Report, it's exactly like it's titled. These are coins that have at one point been found, going through Pocket Change, going through coin rolls, bank rolls, BU rolls. And some would even say that some of these coins as well have been cherry picked at the local, watering hole. Not watering hole, but you know what I mean, coin shop or perhaps a coin show. All right, so people are certainly capitalizing on what we call cherry picking, identifying coins with a variety that is not at first glance attributed or apparent to the dealer or the seller. So most folks will buy the coin as it sits as a regular type coin, and then make the extra what we call bonus money, the profits, by reselling it with the attributed error or variety. All right, so it's a practice that's been around since the dawn of man, or since the dawn of numismatics. But we have quite a nice selection of coins today. We have 25 for the end of the month. Next week, I'll probably do a little bit chunkier version of this report, probably 40 to 50 coins, like I did the last day of last month for April, which you guys really enjoyed. You guys wanted more and more variety, and I was able to deliver. And I think we'll do that again this month. So at the end of the month, next Saturday, stay tuned. That should be a lot of fun. All right, so without further ado, again, these coins are all raw. All right, there are no graded coins. The big idea is you find them, and you can either keep them, add them to your collection, or sell them. And go ahead and use that money to do whatever else you want. I'd like to be a purist and say, yeah, I want to sell all of these inexpensive, kind of like sub $20 coins, and buy a really nice, type coin with it. When it's all added up together. All of the little transactions turn into a big old pot of money. So you can look at it that way, or you can just use it for everyday life. A lot of people do that as well. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into the first coin, and we have here, I'm sure, a coin that was cherry picked out of some bulk buffalo nickels. This is, of course, one of the more common dated buffaloes, especially in higher grades. But this one's a 1938D. Buffalo nickel. Is also worth pointing out that this does have a few unsightly scratches. So it's a details coin. It's also got some carbon spotting, which is not a very pleasant looking thing, because it is kind of like a corrosion on a coin, whether it's this or a copper, penny or something. But also the coin looks like it's been cleaned. So it has a lot of strikes going against it, but it really doesn't matter as long as you find something neat with it. And this one is a D over D repunched mint mark variety. Pretty neat. And what I love about this date is you can find not only the RPMs, but the over mint marks as well. There's a few really nice ones. D over S is quite an easy find. And if you're able to cherry pick one of these on a much higher graded coin, the returns can be especially nice. This one right here, a best offer was accepted off of the original asking price of $32.90. My guess is somewhere between $20 and $25 for this coin with its warts. The next one that we have here is a 1964D Lincoln Memorial cent. This one looks slightly off center. What we actually have here could be one of a few different things. It could either be a slightly off-center struck coin, where it's very slight. It's probably 2-3% off-center. It could be an off-center broad strike too. Usually with this appearance of it being an off-center strike, and it's so minor, it could also even pass as a broad strike. Or only because I can't see the edge. This could also be a tilted partial collar strike as well. So, it could be any one of those three, but whatever it is, it's a really nice find, and the coin is in pretty decent shape. This one sold for $11.69. Very nice find. All right, so for those of you that like to cherry pick some of the older coins, okay, we already saw the 38D Buffalo Nickel. That's a good one. Here's another one, and it's a relatively common date 3-cent nickel. Yeah, it's a little bit on the older side, and more than likely you're not going to find any of these in general circulation. All right, they're just kind of an oddball denomination. They are roughly about the size of a penny, but they are a different color and a different look. But this 3-cent nickel right here is an 1867. And what's pretty cool and gives this one character is it has, a myriad of die cracks and breaks. Even has a little retained cud area right here that goes into the date and back into the denticles. And now on the reverse, you also have a pretty nice die crack that goes in there, among a few other things. And, it also helps that this coin is in really nice shape. I would say technical grade-wise, it's probably like a VF 30, 35. It does have full liberty. It's got plenty of overall detail on the coin, and this is just an overall pleasing type example. So with everything taken into consideration, this one did sell for $36. Not a tremendous rip, especially if you get a coin like this for about 20, 25 bucks and then, flip it for $10 profit. I guess, something is better than nothing in this case. All right, so here's another nickel, and I guarantee you that this was in the bargain kind of bulk Buffalo nickel bin. Normally those coins are best suited for folks that are just filling an album. A lot of the coins will exhibit kind of like good to VG details. For a quarter, you can't really expect a whole lot outside of that grade range. But this coin right here looks everything bit like the kind of like the good condition coin. However, to most coin dealers, aside from grade alone, they do overlook things like the fact that this has a lot of lamination peel on there. For those of you that are quite knowledgeable in this series, the improper annealing factor certainly plays a role in the overall quality of these coins. So finding them with laminations like this is actually not hard at all. And to an eagle-eye collector or flipper, you can actually make a few bucks off of these type of coins. For example, this one right here sold for $20. And I guarantee you this person did not pay no more than about, I would say on the high end, 50 cents. If you paid a little bit more than that, then I'm sorry. But, this is, those low-end, low-grade Buffalo Nickels are kind of like a treasure trove of not only errors but varieties. And oftentimes they're overlooked. Here's another lamination. This one is actually quite extreme. It's a 1955D Lincoln wheat cent. As you can see on the obverse, you got all sorts of stuff going on. This planchet was not very good before it was struck. And the results show. You can see a lot of the lamination, not only the detached areas right there on Lincoln's face, and in front in the fields, but also down below where Liberty is, you can actually see retained lamination peels still on there. The coin is in decent shape. It's nice, honest wear that we're seeing here. This one sold for $9.49. So, to someone else's trash can be someone else's treasure. Pretty nice. So we do have a few pieces of currency on tap for this week. We got this one right here. It's a 1969D, all right? So it's a little bit older of a note, but you could find these on just about any date or series of currency. It could be 1s, 5s, 10s, 20s, all the way up to hundreds. But this one right here is a $1 Federal Reserve note that features a rather nice what I like to call semi-low serial number. I like to tell folks with a low serial number, I want to see 5 leading zeros. So 5 zeros and then 999 would be the highest low serial number that, would be more market acceptable. But these right here, these 4-digit low numbers are beginning to get some infatuation on the secondary market. And this one right here is sold for $34.15. So if you see the low serial number notes, pull them out. It doesn't matter how old or how new, how pristine or how rough they are. They will all sell on eBay. All right, so this is pretty cool because this is not only an error but also a variety. But we have a 2000 Philadelphia Lincoln Memorial Cent that is struck off center by about 15%. In addition, it's also a wide AM variety. Thank God this thing was not struck more off center than it was because you could plainly see just a big, huge gap between the A and M right here. How cool is this? These have been known to exist out there. I've seen a few of them in the last few years, and they're all really, really cool because you have a dual thing happening here. But this one, a best offer was accepted. The original asking price was $60. So I would venture to guess that this one probably sold for between $40 and $50. The coin is in nice enough shape that, it would be a pretty nice error variety dual combo piece in a collection. And you see these come up every so often. So I'm not going to say that they're extra rare, but relatively uncommon. All right, so here's a little bit newer $1 bill. Okay, this is a 2013 series Fed Reserve note with another low serial number, this time with a much lower serial than what we saw in the previous note. This one's 4 leading zeros and then 1003. All right, so, rare kind of fancy serial numbers like this have for the longest time been overlooked. Not many people have really cared about it, but there are a number of various collectors that are really getting into this, and more newer collectors also are jumping into the fray as well. This one right here is sold for $97.94, and I think it's just a combination of the pristine condition of the note in addition to a much lower serial number. This would have been a lot cooler if it was 4 leading zeros and 1000. So this one's pretty good enough the way it sits. But, you can just imagine all the possibilities when it comes to these type of notes. Very nice find, by the way, by the seller. So more than likely, you're not going to find too many of these particular errors uncertified, ungraded. And what we have here is a 1970 or 76. It looks more like a 76, but it's a 1976D Jefferson Nickel that was struck on a bronze penny planchet. So yeah, this one, surprisingly, it just blows my mind that this one had received the amount of circulation that it did. Because normally these type of off-metal errors or what have you are in pretty nice shape. They get caught early, through mid-state bags and all that stuff. So it's pretty neat to see one that's actually been through the system a few times. Cash registers and coin counting machines and stuff like that. This one right here sold for $203.90. And yes, that is kind of like the average going rate for raw examples of this type of error. But more than likely, I think we will see this one in some sort of graded holder in the near future. For you folks there north of the border, we have a nice one here for you. Now this is a call it a variety. All right, we'll call this one a variety. It's probably gone back and forth between error and variety, but we have a 1990 Canada nickel, and this one's called the Bear Belly variety. All right, what do we mean by that? So if you look right here under the beaver's belly area, you can see a bunch of these parallel lines. And this is either one of two things. It's either an over polishing of the die, where a lot of the beaver hair has been braided away, or it could be like a feeder finger type of damage to that die. But regardless, this is a really cool variety that folks, in Canada and in the northern U.S. look for. It's actually not that rare to find these, but if you do find them, congrats. They are worth a little bit of money in this instance. And the coin is not in that great a shape. I don't know if you saw the previous images, but the coin has lots of wear. It's kind of got some of that black gunky funk on the reverse of the coin, but this one right here sold for $17.58. I've seen mint state examples sell for as high as $40, $50, and if you can get them graded at a high level, they could be worth a lot more than that. So I would say that this is probably one of the most pleasing off-center struck coins this week. It's a 1980 something Washington quarter. We don't know what the last digit is of the date. We don't know if it's a Denver or Philadelphia struck coin. But this one right here, just a really nice high-grade, lustrous example. And it's about 65% off-center. This one sold for $83.50. All right, so we saw that 2000 Lincoln Memorial cent earlier in the show. That was off-center. This one is off-center too. It's a 99 Philadelphia. This one's off-center by like that same kind of 15% range. But man, this is not the wide AM. But you could imagine if this was a wide AM 99 that's off-center struck, this thing could be a beast. I would say in this condition, that could be like a $400 or $500 coin. But today, it just wasn't meant to be. This one right here sold for $18.95. So, it's still worth something. And the coin is in nice enough shape that if you were doing a date set, this would be a good example to have because it does have a full date. All right, so we got 1980 Jefferson Nickel. First and foremost, there was a scratch, pretty heavy scratch on the front of the coin. All right, but what we have here is an uncentered broad strike. All right, so that's what this looks like. There's no collar to keep the strike in place, so a lot of that metal flow has to go out. So there was some sort of malfunctioning event with the collar, which is spring loaded. All right, so. With no collar, yeah, this thing pancakes out pretty easily. Let's see, this one sold for $11.79, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but keep in mind, it does have a pretty hefty scratch, which makes this a details graded coin. All right, more currency, but most importantly, this is the subject piece of the week, all right? And you guys have got to pay close attention to not only your 1985 series $1 bills, which there are still a ton of those out there, but also this affects the 1981A $1 Federal Reserve notes. So looking at the front of the note, there's really nothing to kind of write home about. I mean, it looks like just a regular $1 bill that you've probably spent to buy your last cup of coffee, right? But where all the action and all kind of like the hype and buzz with this note is going to be on the reverse, okay? And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I don't see anything interesting with this either. Well, if you know your currency, and I've known about this particular Mule, it's a Mule note. I've known about this for about 15 years, maybe just slightly longer than that. But this one, it has the back plate 129. Now, here's the only problem. The plate number is supposed to be here on the bottom right of the big $1 symbol right here. But this one is on the bottom left. These notes with the 129 backplate were produced June, July, and August of 1985. And they produced not only the outgoing 1981A series $1 bills, but they were also doing the 1985s. So here we go. One is staring at you in your face. I've seen a number of these sold over the years, and they are all quite a nice little payday if you find them. It's also worth mentioning that These exist on a few specific blocks. So we have an EA block here, and the EA is just the prefix and suffix letters of the serial. But these are also found on CA blocks, HB, IA, IB, and LG blocks. So there's a few blocks that you could find the backplate 129 mules at on. IB being the most rarest, as there's only 2 notes, maybe even 3, that are known to exist in that particular block. So that would be obviously the one to look for. But the 129 backplate mule on this is a really, really nice mule note to find. And they do I mean, look at this thing. This thing has been through quite a bit of circulation. This one sold for $35, but a lot of the notes that I've seen in much worse shape sell for around $30 or higher. If you're able to find one of these in gem crisp grade, that's a note that's worth about $250 and higher. And then you could always send those off to a certification company as well. Another Lincoln cent that struck way off center. We've had a few of these type of errors, and they're a lot of fun to talk about. This one, of course, we don't know what the date is. It looks like it was probably a saddle strike, because you can see this little indentation right here. And a little bit of this right here. So it was in between 2 sets of dies when they were striking their respective coins. This one right here is about 70% off center, and it sold for $35.95. And I think the fact that this has a minor kind of like punch here on the opposite side adds to its value, because normally coins of this era without any discernible date is a pretty tough sell, for anything over like $20. All right, so here's a rough looking Rosie, this time a 1983P. That is also an uncentered broad strike. You still have a full rim on the opposite side, but you have a lot of the material flowing out here on the strike. But the coin has its issues. This one right here has a lot of what looks to be road rash. I mean, the coin has some visible damage on there. This one sold for $10.79. So it's a coin with problems, but it's a pretty neat error. Even has some scratches here as well. All right, here's another one. Another probably, uncentered broad strike. Was a 1983 Washington quarter. It's a little bit tougher date, but we've seen quite a few of these over the last few weeks. And this one is in pretty nice shape. It's a nice kind of like Mint State 63 example. I wouldn't put any higher than that. It's got some gunk on the reverse. This one sold for $13.48. So, nice surprise. And a pretty neat error. Another off-center struck Washington quarter. This time it's a 1997 either P or D. It's going to be one of those two. It's off-center by about 40%. And this one right here, pretty decent shape. Sold for $33 here in the last few days. All right, so this is our one and only clipped coin. And it's a 1964D Jefferson Nickel, which has a nice size curved clip right on the crown of his head, but also has some pretty evident Blakesley effect. The photos are decent. The obverse photo is a little bit out of focus on this one, but you still know what it is. And this one brought home $13.33. Not too bad for a clip. All right, so if we are going to talk about off-center struck coins, we're going to talk about an incredible one. This is a 1919S Lincoln wheat cent that is off-center by about 20-25%, somewhere around there. The coin is in phenomenal shape with no visible carbon spotting or damage on there. This one is just a really, really high-grade piece. And yeah, usually these kind of like odd branch mint early date coins command quite a bit of premium, and this one sure did. The original asking price was $300, and there was a best offer made, probably $250-ish. I saw a 1920S sell sometime last week for $300. And I think this one right here is a little bit tougher date, and it's kind of a bargain, to be honest, compared to that 20S that sold earlier in the week. All right, last piece of currency for the week, and it's going to be probably one of the most minor errors. And I talked about this before on a few videos a long time ago. I mean, we're talking probably 8 years ago. And I think it's probably gotten more due than what's necessary, which is not a bad thing. It's a 2017 a $1 Federal Reserve note that features a high 7. They call this a turn digit, so that the number was stuck and the printing happened for the third print, and that one particular serial number looks a little bit odd. All right, but for the turned stuck digit type of errors, that's actually quite minor. There's a lot of them that are a lot more turned than that, where you could see the next, corresponding number pop up at the bottom of the reel. But surprisingly, this thing sold for $26. So people are definitely paying for visible examples like this, where you could see some shift in the serial number wheel. And this is quite a nice high-grade note, too. All right, I believe this is our first 2021 kind of like significant error. But strangely enough, this coin looks like it's circulated for about a good 12 months, even though the coin has only been out a few months. But it's a 2021P Lincoln Shield cent that I think is either a broad strike or a partial tilted collar. I'm leaning more toward the tilted collar because you could see kind of like this railroaded area here on the edge, which is pretty indicative of that type of error. But this is cool. It's great to see a brand new coin, not perfect. A lot of them have been anything but that. But would you guys believe this thing sold for $29 for a brand new coin? Man, keep hunting for them. They're out there. Another relatively modern Lincoln penny. This is another shield type. As you can see, it's a 2017 D. And we have a lot of weakness on the reverse. This one is a struck through greaser. A greaser coin is what we like to call it. And that anvil die had a ton of grease on it before this thing was struck. And that's what it looks like. A lot of the design devices are obliterated when it has to strike through a bunch of grease. So that's what this looks like. And this one sold for $29.15. Not too bad. That's actually quite nice. And two of our kind of like top line coins of the week, these are the last two coins for today's episode, is going to be this 1914 over 3 Buffalo nickel. God, I only want to find one of these, and it doesn't matter what condition. More than likely, it's going to be like this condition, which is not fancy. It's probably like a VG8, but you can see the top bar of the 3 right under the 4 right here. Some have said, well, the graders aren't grading this type of over-date variety anymore. And I'm like, no, they are. PCGS will have it as a 1914/3 on the slab label, and that's how they notate it on there. They don't write anything else like overdate or anything like that. But an incredibly desirable coin and variety. This one sold for $85. These things in much higher grades can get out of hand. Like seriously, the multipliers for like a VF30 or an XF45, they go up a lot. They go up into the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. These are very desirable to not only Buffalo nickel collectors, but also variety people as well. And the final coin for this week is a coin that looks like it was beat up pretty severely, but in reality, it's a 1968D Lincoln Memorial cent that looks like it's a clamshell. So you have a very defective planchet where you have a clamshell lamination that had flipped up and probably broken off, and or it looks retained. The pictures are kind of not good on this coin, but I know exactly what it is. But yeah, it's hard to believe this coin had circulated for so long, and you know, it's quite a neat variety, very, very strong as well. This one sold for $45.50. So yeah, it's true what they say. There is treasure in your pocket change. I mean, that's not just a ridiculous clickbait title or meme. That's actually the real deal, and I'm happy to say that, you know, that is the case with the, you know, the last like 5 coins on the list. It particularly rings true. So that's going to go ahead and do it today, ladies and gentlemen, as you guys get started with your week of cherry picking. You know, a few things to keep in mind for sure. Coin shows are back on. I actually just got my first mail piece for a show that we are having here locally in Northern California that I'm gonna no doubt be at. Wow, I can't wait. And you guys should get excited too. Some would say that during the summer, things begin to kind of like mellow down market-wise for not only coins and currency, but collectibles in general. And we're going to test that theory. Let's see how strong the coin market continues on through the summer, even as people begin to go out, do vacations, and enjoy the world again. But that's going to be it. All right. That was a lot of fun. It was a fun week. I'm your host, Sean. Always a pleasure. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell for instant notifications. And that's going to go ahead and do it. Coinaholics, we are discovering together. You guys take care. Enjoy your hunt, and I'll see you on the next one.